Chapter 4. The underlying logic of civilization. Due to their intelligence, humans occupy the top of the food chain and have become the only dominant species on the planet. Biologically, human genes do not have a definitive advantage over all closely related species regarding energetic balance, intake, lock-in, security, and connectivity. Human evolution was marked by a few exceptional leaps that accumulated and positively amplified in subsequent events. Looking back on the evolutionary history of humans, each significant change in the genetic mutation process is linked to a prior selection in the direction of evolution. These selections are not one way between humans and nature. They include passive mutations influenced by the environment, as well as another type of selections that are favored by nature after proactive mutations. Every genetic advancement in human evolution might not appear to be clever or intelligent at the time. Among all primate species, however, humans have persistently evolved using the strategy of upright walking, vocal organs, speech centers, and textual vision over hundreds of thousands of years. They persisted in these strategies and continue to improve the advantages of these adaptations at an accelerated rate. In the end, humanity was fortunate enough to construct an entirely novel energy empire here on Earth. Today, the competitive edge developed by humans still stands unmatched on Earth, and perhaps even in the entire universe. Leaps in human evolution. As modern humans, we all belong to the species Homo sapiens. Although there were not many Homo species, there were several types of human species, from about 2 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. Other Homo species, such as Homo neanderthalensis, Denisovans, Saurocensus, etc., existed in addition to Homo sapiens. The evolution of the Homo genus can be traced back to Homo erectus 100,000 years ago, Homo ergaster 1.08 million years ago, Homo habilis 3 million years ago, and even Australopithecus 5.5 million years ago. Archaeological speculation suggests that the origin of Homo sapiens dates back to the formation of the East African Rift Valley, 15 to 8 million years ago. The challenges posed by the harsh environment forced our human ancestors to adapt and evolve gradually. However, it is important to note that human evolution is not solely caused by the environment. The evolution of Homo sapiens, which began primarily in East Africa, experienced faster growth around 70,000 years ago. This was accompanied by the expansion of territories across the globe until about 10,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens experienced its highest level of dominance in terms of survival. Regrettably, only Homo sapiens remained as the sole surviving species of the human race, while several other human species went extinct. Following this, the human evolution, along with the social and cultural progress, continued to advance. It was as if a meteor had crashed into Earth from outer space, and its gravity had continued to accelerate its descent speed until it formed a crater of civilization on Earth. Upright walking. Visualize the living conditions of the ancient ape, the human ancestor. Initially, it most likely resembled the chimpanzee, adapted to live in the forest and dependent on fruits and tree seeds for sustenance. The ancestral apes spent most of their life in the trees, but they occasionally descended to the ground. As the Great Rift Valley was forming in East Africa, the climate started to change. Rainfall slowly decreased, and the continuous forests were transformed into patches as the forest cover receded. As a last resort, the ancient apes began to move frequently on the ground, either migrating between different forest patches or gathering seeds or tubers in the nearby grasslands. Due to the formation of the Great Rift Valley, the climate became harsher. Apart from the above-mentioned activities, ancient apes had to broaden their scope of activities during the dry season to look for small animals to hunt. This lifespan lasted roughly 3 million years, and it's feasible that more than one infant ape with an abnormal pelvic structure was born in one of these groups during that time. In contrast to other ostensibly normal apes, they could stand upright for longer durations, even though they did so awkwardly and with less exertion. As these young apes, once deemed deformed, matured, they exhibited impressive parkour superstar traits, demonstrating greater mobility and improved food intake capabilities. Over time, the family ascends to become the dominant group, governing communities across a vast expanse of land. These prehistoric apes achieved an essential transition from environmental genes to species genes, marking a significant milestone in ape evolution. Their pelvic structure was more compact with a narrower anterior-posterior distance, which made the distance between their legs shorter. Moreover, this pelvic structure was more supportive and could bear the weight of the upper body with minimal use of muscles. In addition, a compact pelvis is better suited for bipedal walking, allowing one leg to be lifted without causing the other leg to shift its center of gravity much and create instability. The relaxed upright gait permits the great ape to decrease energy consumption when active. In 2007, Dr. David Rachlin, an associate professor of anthropology at the University of Arizona, conducted a study on the energy expenditure of 5 chimpanzees walking in various manners. The study's outcome demonstrated that humans consume only a quarter of the energy expended by chimpanzees on all fours when walking upright. On average, chimpanzees that had not undergone this evolutionary transition consumed nearly the same amount of energy while upright as they did on all fours. Consequently, the ape king, with its indisputable right to mate, disseminated the novel genes it carried, resulting in the formation of a new population of Australopithecus. With sustained and repeated stimulation from upright walking, the structure of foot bones undergone species genetic changes that eventually led to the degeneration of foot and the development of arches. The arch provides the required flexibility to walk upright with a lesser amount of effort and protects the brain from the huge impact of landing on both feet. The development of the foot arch granted Australopithecus the potential to run and expand its range of motion. The evolution of the foot arch from the initial leap to its subsequent refinement was perhaps the gradual process that occurred during the transformation of Australopithecus into Homo habilis, Homo ergaster, and Homo erectus. Without a doubt, the most significant advantage of upright walking was the freedom of the forelimbs. It is commonly accepted that Australopithecus did not possess the upright walking style and bodily structure of modern humans, and it underwent a prolonged phase of evolution to achieve it. While the capability to walk upright gradually increased, the importance of the forelimbs in energy intake became diminished, leading to an increased role in body movement. Throughout the evolution process, the decline in hanging behavior and the growth in handling, throwing, and embracing actions was essential in transforming the musculature of the forelimbs and palms, ultimately allowing for more refined movements. This transformation enabled human ancestors to use tools for foraging and, in turn, progressed from a simple energy intake approach to the use of energy tools. Since then, the energy sources of our ancestors have constantly expanded and become more stable. The most potent energy tool, fire, propelled human evolution significantly. By using fire, ancient apes found a weapon to defend themselves against natural predators, such as lions, leopards, jackals, and wolves. Thanks to fire, the ancient apes experienced a significant improvement in safety, as it allowed them to repel natural enemy attacks during the night. Feeling more secure, with the alternative of day and night no longer a risk, apes became more active and eventually migrated from the forest to live on the plains. An extensive rise in the time spent by apes on the ground caused a deterioration in their limb structures that previously facilitated their life in trees. It facilitated the evolution of limb structures that were necessary for ground activities. The utilization of fire for cooking led to a more significant separation of tasks between the hands and feet of ancient apes, resulting in the ability of their upper limbs to perform more intricate and diverse movements. Learning the method of making fire by drilling wood allowed Homo ergaster to have the ability to move freely. It was only after learning how to use fire to cook food and keep themselves warm that humans gained the ability to migrate freely across the planet. Driven by curiosity, humans began to explore northward along the eastern coastline of Africa after that, which marked the beginning of the epic migration. Phonetic enrichment. The second significant evolutionary leap in humans was the development of the articulatory organ. Understanding the structure of the larynx is crucial when discussing human articulatory organs. Located in the center of the neck, the larynx is connected to the pharyngeal cavity and trachea. It comprises 5 pieces of laryngeal cartilage: the thyroid cartilage, the cricoid cartilage, the epiglottis cartilage, and the paired arytenoid cartilage. The larynx serves as the gateway for the entrance and exit of gas, and is the primary organ of human articulation. In adult males, the length of the larynx is approximately 4.4 centimeters, whereas in adult females it is around 3.6 centimeters. The following are details regarding the vocal cords. The vocal folds are symmetrical structures located at the center of the laryngeal cavity, consisting of 3 parts: vocal cord muscle, vocal cord ligament, and mucosa. Each vocal cord's front end connects to the thyroid cartilage, while the back end links to the arytenoid cartilage on its respective side. During breathing, the vocal cords are apart, but they come together and tighten during vocalization. The vocal folds are elastic and can stretch about 50% from the synergistic pull of the laryngeal muscles and cartilage surrounding them. The vocal folds could have evolved from frogs in ancient times, representing a significant genetic advancement in substable genes. The vocal folds, known as elastic fibrous bands on either side of the throat, evolved in certain frog species. Despite having developed laryngeal muscles, frogs were among the first animals to use vocal cords for vocalization purposes. Male frogs have 1 or 2 vocal folds which vibrate during vocalization. Male frogs are responsible for most of the loud frog sounds we hear. In contrast, female frogs cannot produce a vocal sac and therefore tend to have less vibrant sounds than males. In any case, the qualitative change of using vocal cords in communication likely originated in amphibians. Following this, animal vocalizations began to differentiate based on their respective evolutionary directions, giving rise to distinct vocal systems. Birds have evolved a vocal system that utilizes the song canal. The song canal is situated where the trachea and the bronchus meet. The central part of the song canal is a cavity called the song cavity. With the presence of airflow, the song canal's walls become thin and resonate with the airflow, producing clear and loud bird sounds. Additionally, the bird's song canal is connected to internal and external muscles, which can contract and relax independently. Certain birds can precisely control the airflow to produce pleasant chirping sounds. Humans have evolved their vocal system further. Firstly, due to their upright posture, humans reduce pressure on their lungs and vocal cords, enabling them to control airflow and vibration of their vocal cords more precisely. The muscles of the larynx can be stretched and expanded with greater ease. Secondly, upright walking also causes the mouth and larynx to form a right angle. In contrast to a linear structure, a non-linear structure can create more obstructions during the articulation process, enabling intricate sounds. Furthermore, walking upright diminishes pressure on the nasal cavity, which acts as a resonating chamber. In this manner, walking upright presented human ancestors with an unexpected advantage of possessing the biological prerequisites necessary for producing elaborate sounds. Language is a collection of distinct symbols expressed using specific regulations. As a result, the development of the organs of articulation is another crucial requirement for humans to attain the capability of speech. Due to the regular stimulation resulting from prolonged upright walking, Homo erectus from Africa progressively became capable of generating more intricate speech sounds. Nevertheless, it was a rudimentary language, relying on the production of single sounds for identifying food and facilitating coordination. As speech varieties and tones became enriched, they fully engaged both the hearing and the brain. Suppose a new baby boy with a deformed, low-lying throat is born in an African community. This baby is capable of producing more speech sounds, including some vowels. Initially, people did not pay much attention to this boy who made more unusual sounds. However, as an adult, this male's attractive and sonorous voice conferred an advantage in his romantic pursuits, allowing him to win over many female partners during courtship. This represents a significant step towards the wider propagation of the phonetic gene in early Homo sapiens. After that, the vocal tract structure of Homo sapiens' throat gradually evolved, with adults having a lower relative position in the larynx than their ancestors. As a result, the vocal tract became longer and increasingly capable of producing more vowels. Vowels form the foundation of human speech, and the three vowels I, A, and U are at its core. Individuals who are unable to pronounce these three vowels have limited ability to produce clear and coherent speech. Humans cannot be considered capable of any kind of language, including primitive language, without sufficient multiple combinations of speech to indicate language symbols. To model the vocal tract, Robert McCarthy, an anthropologist at Florida Atlantic University, used a 50,000-year-old Neanderthal fossil discovered in France. Through simulating the vowel sounds E, using a computer synthesizer, it was suggested that Neanderthals, a subspecies of Homo sapiens, physically and genetically possess the ability to produce simple vowel sounds. The simulation results indicate that Neanderthals did not possess long vowels in their pronunciation system, which is significantly distinct from that of modern humans. The juxtaposition of long and short vowels remains the foundation of contemporary languages. Around 100,000 years ago, the articulatory genes of late Homo sapiens had become part of the species genes, and the curvature of the skull base had reached that of modern humans. At that point, the articulatory organs of late Homo sapiens had become indistinguishable from those of contemporary humans, thus allowing for the production of the entire spectrum of human speech sounds. The complexity of speech propelled Homo sapiens to a higher level of knowledge about the world and communication through cooperation, further driving the evolution of the brain. Speech center. The left hemisphere of the brain in modern humans contains Broca's area for language expression and Wernicke's area for language comprehension, which are both related to the use of language and tools. The left hemisphere, which controls language and right-hand movements, is slightly larger than the right hemisphere, resulting in asymmetry between the two hemispheres of the brain. Initially, late Homo sapiens lacked significant lateralization of Broca's area and brain, which likely resulted in a restricted range of language expression using simple vocabulary combinations. Late Homo sapiens were incapable of combining speech sounds skillfully for expression or comprehending complex speech sounds from others. Repeating speech over a long period of time triggers the development of language functions in the brain due to the intensity of the stimulation. The gray and white matter of the primary auditory and Wernicke's areas in the left and right hemispheres of the Homo sapiens brain grew progressively larger. Progressively more neurons processed language as the brain's lateralization of external structures became more pronounced. The progressive evolution of stimulation is initially apparent in auditory cells, where the cellular functions of the left and right hemisphere auditory areas gradually diverge. The volume of specific nerve cells in the primary auditory area of the left hemisphere grew larger than those in the corresponding area of the right hemisphere. These nerve cells possess additional dendrites and myelin sheaths, resulting in quicker transmission of signals. This alteration in the left brain resulted in sound signals being processed in the time domain more efficiently. In contrast, the cells in the primary auditory region of their right brain gradually reduced in size, resulting in fewer dendrites and myelin sheaths. This alteration has a disadvantage in that it decelerates signal transmission rate, but its benefit is that it maintains the signal characteristics over a more extended duration. Neurons exchange information within and between brain regions through synapses, while white matter connections mainly transmit information between brain regions. As auditory cells differentiate functionally and speech stimulation intensifies, a record of environmental genes triggering threshold conditions accumulates, leading to a leap in species gene initiation and editing at any time. At this point, we can imagine that another so-called deformed child was born in one of the late Homo sapiens communities in the distant past. The structure of superior longitudinal and arcuate fiber tracts in the brain of this deformed child stands out. This structure might be an interlocking, interoperable structure that can transmit information in a synchronized group through cascading. Thus, her brain's white matter volume seems to be larger than that of the average person, indicating that the left side of her brain has more white matter connections, specifically from Broca's area to the middle and inferior temporal gyrus. The child labeled as deformed developed the ability to use many complex speech combinations, leading to a language that others had difficulty understanding. Only a small part of her vocabulary was understandable to her parents and relatives. Nevertheless, due to her advanced semantic and grammatical processing skills, she was able to understand better the meaning of others' speech and body language. She was recognized as Miss Tribe for her exceptional ability to comprehend and empathize with others. The following inquiry is as to why the new genes that she carried could spread so widely, making it easier to comprehend. Due to the spread of speech genes and subsequent evolution, late Homo sapiens became more expressive in semantic communication and even started producing abstract words. As linguistic communication became more intricate, utilizing increased lexical combinations bolstered the prevalence and sophistication of grammatical structures. Through the advent of more abstract and rational concepts, late Homo sapiens potentially developed a swift ability to recombine ideas and utilize logic to construct new sentences that express complex meanings with complete logical structure. Simultaneously, as the overall quantity of shared language information amplified, the brain of the late Homo followed evolutionary adaptations by continuing to expand. The lateralization degree of the brain structure increased as well. Significant mutations in late Homo sapiens brain regions and subsequent gradual evolution revolutionized their cognitive abilities. During that era, Homo sapiens, equipped with a fresh perspective and enhanced communication abilities, achieved an unprecedented comprehension of nature, tool manipulation, mimicry, innovation, and effective large group collaboration. They had the biological foundation to dominate the planet and the drive to explore its uncharted territories. The significant improvement in energy intake efficiency and capacity resulted in a population boom, which forced Homo sapiens to retrace the migration route followed by their ancestor Homo erectus and initiate another mass migration. After that, the search for new habitats became unstoppable. In just a matter of tens of thousands of years, the mark of human presence had encompassed nearly all the inhabitable land on the planet. Text visuals effects. Homo sapiens' formation and development of language facilitated the cognition of the world to a greater extent. The resulting mass of information contributed to the meandering folds of the cerebral cortex. As a result, Homo sapiens shifted most of their energy consumption from survival and reproduction activities to the storage and processing of information. The birth and evolution of text marked another significant breakthrough in human evolution. Text extends the development of the language area of the human brain from articulation and hearing to vision in the functional dimension. Furthermore, it considerably reduces the burden of information storage and processing in the brain, which will continue to grow with the accumulation of information. Thus, it can be confidently asserted that text has become an energy tool beyond the human body and holds the same level of broad and significant significance as fire. The visual impact of text was a catalyst for the second cognitive revolution. The rapid evolution of writing and its conveyance over the past several thousand years facilitated the inheritance, accumulation, superimposition, and diffusion of knowledge about humanity and the world, driving the subsequent agricultural, industrial, and even scientific revolutions. In addition to oral transmission of their ancestors' stories and worldviews, some geniuses with nimble and flexible hands depicted various objects and scenes on the ground, clay, or stone slabs using simple lines. Some could even graphically depict people's lives and scenes in their tribes. The prototype of human writing, which later became the primitive script, was created by such geniuses. Early writing was in a transitional phase from the pre-literate stage to the literate stage. The main distinction from later forms of writing is that these symbols typically depicted shapes to convey a message or assist with memorization, and did not serve as a comprehensive language recording system. The jiahu symbols found in China belong to this stage, and they are considered by some as the earliest known examples of primitive writing in the world. The development of written language was a gradual process that followed the introduction of primitive writing. People gradually recognized that primitive writing could serve as a memory aid and play a more significant role in transmitting knowledge and experience across generations. Over time, the lines were simplified to imitate the objects they represented. For instance, a cow can be recognized by a basic outline of its head, while a woman can be represented by a line inside a triangle. The Sumerian cuneiform script, developed about 3,500 years ago, is now widely acknowledged as the genuine script used for recording a complete language. Egyptian hieroglyphs emerged slightly later than cuneiform around 3000 BC. Hieroglyphs evolved over time, and the context began to determine their broader representation beyond the physical objects they portrayed. Later, writing systems diverged in different parts of the world. They evolved from pictographs to ideographs, epigraphs, and eventually to mixed and balanced scripts. The earliest purely phonetic alphabetic script in the world is the Phoenician alphabet, which dates back to about 1,000 years ago. It was derived from Egyptian hieroglyphics. The Latin and Cyrillic alphabets, which are widely used today, have their origins in the Greek alphabet, which in turn derives from the Phoenician alphabet. In contrast, Chinese characters developed relatively independently, evolving from pure ideographs to a combination of ideographs and phonograms. Due to human creativity, deliberate usage patterns, and knowledge sharing, scripts have become intermixed and diversified worldwide. Currently, there exist over 5,000 distinct human languages and scripts, excluding those that are extinct. While the evolutionary path of text varies, each writing system has been flexible in its combination and arrangement of elements to increasingly capture the unique features of the corresponding language with greater accuracy. Its ability to handle increasingly complex information has grown. The means of conveying human text evolved in different directions. Cuneiform was typically written on clay tablets, with a small number on stone, metal, or wax tablets. Writers used sharpened reed or wooden sticks to inscribe on soft clay tablets, which became hard and resistant to deformation when dried or baked. Egyptian hieroglyphs and Phoenician letters were engraved on stone slabs, whilst Chinese oracle bones were inscribed on turtle shells or animal bones. In ancient times, writing materials and tools were scarce, and the inscription process was complicated, mainly because of the need to document religious activities of the royal family and some significant stories objectively. Archaeologists have discovered only a few text carriers. However, they demonstrate that people in that time period had the consciousness and capability to transmit their culture to the next generations. Later on, the Egyptians developed papyrus as a writing material. The Egyptians used to write on papyrus with a reed pen dipped in the original ink. Once writing on papyrus was complete, it was rolled up and tied with a thin string, thereby creating a papyrus scroll. The discovery of rare straw paper has led to the belief that the invention of papyrus facilitated the spread of writing and knowledge, contributing to the magnificence of ancient Egyptian civilization, which is unparalleled in human history. It is reasonable to assume that papyrus from ancient Egypt spread in Mesopotamia, another ancient civilization in the Middle East, around the same time. Papyrus grew only in tropical and subtropical areas, and the Sumerians in the two river valleys could not use or widely spread it. Therefore, they had no option but to use burned clay tablets as a writing medium, which resulted in their success in advancing world civilization. Parchment was invented around 170 BC in ancient Greece by Pergamon. Parchment had advantages over papyrus and clay tablets, as it was possible to write on both sides and to use quills to write in full color. Parchment could also be easily folded into books. Parchment was advantageous due to its portability and durability, and thus was commonly used in ancient Greece, becoming the classic medium for future generations. However, due to its expensive and time-consuming production process, only those outside the royal family were restricted in their use of parchment. In any case, parchment played an enormous role in the prosperity of Mediterranean civilization. The library is one of the hallmarks of Mediterranean civilization in the textual vision. In Egypt, Alexander the Great built the largest library in the world at that time. The Pergamon constructed the second largest library in the city of Pergamon, second only to the Library of Alexandria. The numerous libraries preserved an abundance of scholarly works from throughout the history of ancient civilizations, collecting all available knowledge, organizing it for people to learn, create, exchange, and disseminate, becoming sanctuaries of scientific and technological innovation and beacons of cultural prosperity on the Mediterranean coast. If the Library of Alexandria had not been accidentally burned, the pattern and course of world civilization could have been different. In the eastern Yellow River Basin, ancient China used bamboo slips and silk to record writings before the invention of paper. Documents were created by splitting bamboo and wood into small, narrow pieces that were then written on and connected using string, silk, or cowhide. As the bamboo slips were heavy, inconvenient to carry, and could not hold long written records, people gradually started to employ silk as a material for writing. This resulted in books that were written on a roll of silk. However, due to the ease and affordability of production, bamboo texts were used so widely that even frequent wars and conflicts could not eradicate all the existing bamboo texts in folklore. Despite the Emperor Qin Shi Huang's massive burning of books and killing of Confucians, a limited number of books have survived. Consequently, ancient Chinese civilization is now considered one of the most preserved and inherited civilizations in the world. Regardless of whether made from papyrus, parchment, or ancient paper, scrolls were the predominant form of books across ancient Greek, Roman, Chinese, Hebrew, and Macedonian cultures. The circulation of many ancient Greek and Roman works, including poetry, literary fiction, philosophy, mathematics, and other writings, took place in the Western Mediterranean through Latin codices, in the Eastern Mediterranean through Greek codices, and in the Islamic world through Arabic translations. Modern codices began to enter the Roman world before the Middle Ages in Europe, while scrolls lasted much longer in Asia. The later invention and widespread use of papermaking propelled the revolution of writing even further. During the Eastern Han Dynasty in China, Cai Lun made significant improvements to papermaking, resulting in more successful and less expensive paper production. The fibers in Chinese paper are arranged in an inverted cross, unlike the orderly arrangement of plant fibers or the geometric arrangement of textiles. It could be formed into a material that was both thin and light, yet strong enough to be easily carried and preserved over time with proper gluing and bonding, making it easy to make. In just over 1,000 years, the emergence of this writing medium accelerated the process of world civilization, and Chinese papermaking spread throughout the world. Before the invention of printing, books were copied by hand, resulting in a high cost of time and labor. In the Middle Ages, books were limited to a few institutions like churches, universities, nobles, and governments. Movable type printing, invented by Bai Sheng in China during the 10th century, enabled the dissemination of knowledge contained in books to more people. In the mid-15th century, a German named Johannes Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press, which marked a new era of efficiency in producing text carriers. Printing books became possible in large quantities, at a low cost, and with unparalleled quality due to the invention of Gutenberg's presses. Gutenberg's invention ignited a media revolution that played a key role in significant events such as the Renaissance, the Reformation, Enlightenment, geographical discoveries, as well as the industrial and scientific revolutions. The reason is that human knowledge is generated through intergenerational transmission and recreation. The involvement of larger numbers of people in learning, sharing, and creating knowledge results in faster knowledge overlay, intersection, and creation. Similar to network computing today, Engaging multiple computers in computation results in the production of more knowledge and the handling of more massive and complex data. The Crusaders returned to Europe with much of the lost knowledge and culture that had originated in ancient Greece. Additionally, the media revolution meant books were no longer a luxury for the wealthy, leading to information being disseminated at an unprecedented rate in Europe. In just a few centuries, the advent of written vision unlocked a rich treasure trove of energy tools that enabled humans to absorb and use diverse energy as per their will. Human cravings for energy surpassed the physiological need for food and water to an insatiable desire for resources beyond those necessary for reproduction-based survival. In contemporary times, the widespread use of the Internet has replaced conventional carriers of text with electronic textual visuals, making it the mainstream mode of carrying human cognition. An enormous amount of knowledge and information is within our reach within seconds. The number of people involved in creating and utilizing knowledge and culture has now reached billions. Each leap in the evolution of human text carriers will bring about a significant social transformation, and a new era is upon us.